My son looked me right in the eye and called me trash, said he was ashamed to call me his mother. 1 week later, he was standing on my porch, hat in hand, begging for my signature to save his $1 million empire. Funny how quickly trash becomes treasure when you need something, isn't it? My name is Dorothy, and at 72 years old, I thought I knew my place in this world. I live in the same 2-bedroom house where I raised my son Michael. Yellow siding that could use a fresh coat, a garden where I grow my own tomatoes, and furniture that's seen better decades, but still serves its purpose just fine. Michael lives in a different world entirely. After college, he climbed that corporate ladder like his tail was on fire. Now he's got a house that could fit 3 of mine, drives cars worth more than I made in 5 years, and wears suits that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. I was proud of him. Don't get me wrong, proud and maybe a little bewildered. When did my boy who used to help me plant marigolds start looking at his childhood home like it was something to be ashamed of? The visits became fewer, then shorter, then just obligatory phone calls on holidays. But I told myself that's what success looked like. Busy, important, moving in circles I couldn't imagine. I convinced myself he was just occupied. I should have seen the storm coming. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Michael showed up unannounced. I was so happy to see him that I didn't notice the tension in his jaw or the way he wouldn't sit down in my kitchen. "Mom, we need to talk," he said, straightening his tie like my presence was making him uncomfortable. I poured him coffee in my favorite mug, the one with the chip on the handle that he used to drink chocolate milk from. He stared at it like it might contaminate him. "I'm getting married," he announced. My heart leaped. "Oh, Michael, that's wonderful. When do I get to meet her?" His face went cold. "That's what I came to talk about. Victoria. She comes from a very prominent family. Old money. Connections. The kind of people who matter in my business." "Well, I can't wait to—" "No." The word cut through the air like a blade. "You can't meet her. You can't be at the wedding. You can't be part of this." I felt like he'd slapped me. "What are you saying?" "Look around, Mom." He gestured at my kitchen, at the mismatched chairs, the old linoleum, the refrigerator covered with 20 years of grandchildren's artwork from neighbors. "Look at yourself. Victoria's parents would take one look at this place, at you, and they'd run. They'd question everything about me. Michael, I'm your mother. And you're an embarrassment." The words came out flat, matter of fact, like he was reading a grocery list. "Your house is falling apart. You dress like you shop at thrift stores." "I do shop at thrift stores." "Exactly." "You don't understand the world I live in now. These people judge everything. Your clothes, your house, your grammar. You'd destroy everything I've worked for just by existing in their space." I stood there, coffee mug trembling in, my hands watching my son, my baby boy, look at me with genuine disgust. "Victoria asked about my family," he continued. "I told her my parents were dead. It was easier than explaining. This." The mug slipped from my fingers and shattered on the floor. Coffee spread across the linoleum in a dark stain. "You told her I was dead?" "Functionally, yes. And I need you to stay dead. Don't call me. Don't show up at my office. Don't try to contact Victoria or her family. As far as my new life is concerned, Dorothy Henderson doesn't exist." He stepped over the broken pieces and headed for the door. "Michael," I whispered, "I love you." He paused at the threshold, not turning around. "Love doesn't pay the bills or close deals, Mom. Love is a luxury I can't afford anymore." The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like a coffin lid shutting. I stood in my kitchen, surrounded by the broken pieces of my favorite mug and what felt like the broken pieces of my heart, and I made a decision. If my son wanted Dorothy Henderson to be dead to him, then maybe it was time for Dorothy Henderson to stop caring what Michael thought. But I had no idea that Dorothy Henderson held more power than either of us realized. 1 week passed. 7 days of me puttering around my embarrassing house, tending my shameful garden, wearing my thrift store clothes, and slowly coming to terms with the fact that the boy I raised had turned into someone I didn't recognize. On Wednesday morning, my phone rang. Michael's name on the caller ID made my heart skip, but I let it ring. Then he called again, and again. By the 4th call, I answered. "What, Michael?" "Mom." His voice was panicked, breathless. "Mom, I need to see you, right now. I thought I was dead to you. Please, this is important. It's about Grandpa's old property, the warehouse district land." My blood went cold. "What about it?" "I'll explain when I get there. I'm in my car now." 20 minutes later, he was back in my kitchen, but this time he looked like he'd seen a ghost. His perfect hair was messed up, his expensive suit wrinkled, and his hands were shaking as he placed a thick folder on my table. "Mom, I need you to sign something." "Oh, now you need me. Please, just listen. The Meridian Development deal. It's worth $47 million. It's the biggest project of my career. The thing that's going to make me a senior partner. But there's a problem." He opened the folder and pulled out official-looking documents. "The property we're developing. Part of it sits on land that Grandpa bought in 1952. When he died, it went to Grandma. When she died, it went to me," I finished quietly. "You own 1.3 acres right in the middle of our development zone. Without your signature releasing the rights, the entire project collapses. $47 million gone. My promotion gone. My reputation. Your marriage to Victoria, his," face crumpled. "She'll leave me if this falls through. Her family's invested in this project too. If I lose their money..." I looked down at the papers spread across my chipped Formica table. There it was in black and white. Dorothy May Henderson, legal owner of property worth more than Michael could comprehend. "When did you find out?" I asked. "This morning. Our lawyers were doing final title searches and..." He ran his hands through his hair. "How long have you known?" "Since your grandma died 15 years ago. The lawyer explained it all to me, but I never thought much about it. Just some old warehouse land your grandfather bought when times were good. Mom, that old warehouse land is now in the heart of the fastest developing commercial district in the city." I picked up one of the documents, reading the legal language that basically said I held my son's entire future in my hands. The same. Son who had called me trash, who had told his fiancée I was dead, who had told me that love was a luxury he couldn't afford. "You need my signature," I said. "Yes." "And if I don't give it?" "The project dies. I lose everything." I folded the papers neatly and handed them back to him. "I'll think about it." "Think about it?" "Mom, I need an answer by Friday. That's 2 days." "Then you better hope I think fast." I stood up and walked him to the door. "You know where to find me. Same embarrassing house. Same dead mother. For the first time in years, I was the one who closed the door on him." Thursday came and went without a word from Michael. I spent the day in my garden, pulling weeds and thinking about the man my son had become. Part of me wanted to sign those papers immediately. Not for Michael's sake, but because $47 million could do a lot of good in the world. But a bigger part of me knew that if I signed without making Michael face what he'd done, nothing would change. He'd take my signature, marry his Victoria, and go right back to pretending I didn't exist. Except now he'd know I was useful, which somehow felt worse than being considered trash. Friday morning arrived gray and drizzling. At exactly 9 a.m., Michael's BMW pulled into my driveway. I watched from my kitchen window as he sat in his car for a full 5 minutes, gathering courage. When he finally got out, his shoulders were slumped in a way I hadn't seen since he was 12, and had to confess to breaking the neighbor's window. He knocked on my front door. Actually knocked. Instead of just walking in like he had his whole life, I let him knock 3 times before I answered. "Hello, Michael." "Hi, Mom. Can I come in?" I stepped aside. He walked into my living room and looked around as if seeing it for the first time. My worn but comfortable couch, the family photos covering every surface, including dozens of him from baby pictures to college graduation, the handmade Afghan. My mother crocheted that I'd been saving for his future wife to inherit someday. "Sit," I said. He perched on the edge of my couch like he was afraid it might collapse under him. "You have something to say to me," I continued, settling into my recliner. "I brought the papers." He pulled out the folder with hands that weren't quite steady. "I'm sure you did. But that's not what I meant." We stared at each other across my coffee table, the one I'd refinished by hand 30 years ago. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. "Mom, I need your signature. And I need my son back. But I suppose we don't always get what we need, do we?" His composure cracked. "Please, Victoria's parents are flying in Monday for the signing ceremony. If this deal falls through, you'll have to tell them the truth about your very much alive, very trashy mother." He flinched like I'd hit him. "I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it exactly? When you told me I was an embarrassment? When you said love was a luxury you couldn't afford? When you told the woman you want to marry that I was dead?" I was scared. He whispered. "Of what? Of me? Of this house? Of where you came from? Of not being enough?" The words exploded out of him. "Do you know what Victoria's world is like? Her father owns 3 companies. Her mother sits on charity boards and speaks 4 languages. They summer in the Hamptons and winter in Aspen. And me? I'm the son of a factory worker. And a school. Cafeteria lady from the wrong side of town. Your father was a good man who worked honest jobs. I fed thousands of children healthy meals. There's no shame in that. There is in their world. Every time I'm in a room with them, I feel like a fraud. Like they're going to figure out that I don't belong, that I'm just some nobody, from nowhere pretending to be important." I looked at my son. Really looked at him. Underneath the expensive suit and the desperation, I could see the little boy who used to crawl into my lap after bad dreams, who used to help me bake cookies for the church fundraiser, who used to tell me I was the best mama in the whole world. "So, you decided the problem wasn't that you felt ashamed," I said quietly. "The problem was me. I thought it would be easier, cleaner, if I just started over, became the person they expected me to be." "And how's that working out? For you, son?" He buried his face in his hands. "I can't sleep. I can't eat. Every time Victoria talks about the future, I feel sick, because I know it's all built on lies. And this week, when I realized I needed you..." He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. I realized I'd thrown away the most important thing in my life for people who only care about what I can do for them. I reached over and pulled a tissue from the box on my coffee table. The same coffee table he'd done homework on, eaten countless snacks on, built Lego castles on. I handed it to him. Your grandmother used to say that you can't build a life by running away from yourself, I told him. You can dress it up in fancy clothes and expensive cars, but at the end of the day, you're still you. And if you don't like who that is, no amount of money or status is going to fix it. I know that now, but it's too late, isn't it? I ruined everything. I stood up and walked to my kitchen, retrieving a pen from the drawer where I kept important things. Bills, birthday cards, and, apparently, documents that could make or break my son's future. When I came back to the living room, Michael was staring at one of the photos on my mantel. His high school graduation, both of us grinning at the camera, his arm around my shoulders. "You want to know something?" I said, settling back into my chair. I would have been proud to meet Victoria, not because of her money or her family's connections, but because she made my son happy. And if she can't see past this house, past my thrift store clothes, past the fact that I don't know which fork to use at fancy dinners, then she's not worthy of you. She's a good person, Mom. She doesn't know. Then maybe it's time she learned. Maybe it's time she met the real Michael Henderson, son of Dorothy Henderson, who raised him to know right from wrong, even when wrong might be more profitable. I uncapped the pen and looked at the signature line on the document. "I'll sign this," I said. "But not because you need me to. I'll sign it because $47 million can build schools and fund scholarships and help families like ours get a better start. I'll sign it because your grandfather would have wanted his land to be used for something good." "Thank you," he breathed. "I'm not finished." My voice was firm enough to make him sit up straighter. "I'll sign this, but I have conditions. Anything. First, you tell Victoria the truth, all of it. About me, about where you come from, about the lies you told. If she loves you, she'll understand. If she doesn't, then you'll know where you really stand." He nodded. "Second, you bring her here, to this house, for dinner. She can see where you came from, meet the woman who raised you, and decide for herself what kind of family she's marrying into. Mom, what if she what? Runs screaming? Then good riddance. What if she surprises you and sees what I see? A good man who got lost for a while but found his way back home. And if she does run, then you'll know you dodged a bullet, and you'll know that you're worth more than someone who would judge you for loving your mama." I signed my name with a flourish, the pen scratching across the paper like a period at the end of a long, painful sentence. "There," I said, sliding the document across the coffee table. "Dorothy Henderson, officially not dead, signing over her. Rights to some warehouse land so her son can build his future on something more solid than lies." Looking directly into camera, a gentle smile playing at the corners of my mouth. That was 6 months ago. Michael's deal went through, making him a very wealthy and important man in his circles. But more importantly, he kept his word. He told Victoria everything. About me, about his childhood, about the lies he'd told. She cried. Not because she was disgusted, but because she was hurt that he thought so little of her, that he believed she'd care about such things. 2 weeks later, she sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where Michael had called me trash, eating my homemade apple pie off my chipped plates and asking me to teach her my secret ingredient. It's love, by the way, always love. Their wedding was beautiful, small, intimate, held in my backyard under the old oak tree where Michael used to swing as a boy. Victoria wore my grandmother's pearl necklace, the one I'd been saving for the daughter-in-law I thought I'd never have. During his speech, Michael looked right at me and said, "My mother taught me that wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the people who love you regardless of how much or how little you have. She taught me that dignity comes from how you treat others, not how others treat you. And she taught me that sometimes the most valuable things in life come disguised as ordinary, everyday treasures. Now they visit every Sunday for dinner. Victoria has learned to garden with me, and Michael has started helping me with yard work, still in expensive clothes, but he doesn't mind getting dirty anymore. The funny thing about treasure is that it's always been treasure, whether someone recognizes it or not. I was never trash, no matter what my son called me in his fear and confusion. I was always valuable, always worthy, always enough, just like you are. Sometimes people we love make us feel small because they're afraid of feeling small themselves. But your worth isn't determined by someone else's fear, and your value doesn't decrease because someone else can't see it. My son learned that the hard way, but he learned it, and now our family is stronger, not because we have more money, but because we have more truth. Leaning forward slightly, voice warm and conspiratorial, so tell me, what treasures in your life have been disguised as ordinary? What people have you overlooked because they didn't fit someone else's definition of valuable? Share your story below, because I have a feeling we all have more treasure than we realize.